There are things in life that just don't change. They're permanent fixtures. You expect them to be there, and when you turn up, you're somehow comforted to find they're doing what they've always done. Could be anything, from a local hilltop with a memorable view to a favourite pub. But in this particular case, I want to talk about a grand old hospitality establishment. Whenever I think of Taunton's Castle Hotel, set in the heart of Somerset's county town, my mind goes back to the black and white world as seen in classic British movies such as Brief Encounters. This is an establishment with class. It's got a natural, easy style and has more history than you could shake a jousting lance at. Nothing could be more quintessentially English. If a foreign acquaintance, say an American, was coming to visit and said they wanted to stay somewhere that had more Englishness about it than almost anywhere else, I'd recommend the Castle Hotel. Not only because of the classy old establishment itself, but because of its setting. As a county town, Taunton is wonderfully located, with two of Britain's earliest areas of outstanding natural beauty on either side, and the enigmatic Somerset Levels stretching forth to the east, as well as Exmoor National Park rising to the west. And in summer he or she could take the 5-minute stroll to the county cricket ground to watch that most English of sports. I mention this because I once interviewed the cricket commentator Henry Blofeld in the comfortable interior of the Castle Hotel, and somehow you just don't get more English than Blurs. But there's another quintessential Englishman you're almost bound to meet at the Castle Hotel. It's proprietor Kit Chapman. He will tell you with immense pride how the award-winning establishment has been owned by his family for the past 3/4 of a century. It has been Somerset's leading flagship hostelry for many centuries, but the Chapman years have given the place the big name and style, while continuing the kind of tradition which is becoming ever more rare when you think about modern ideas of pedigree and heritage. And hospitality, has to be said. The charming and erudite Kit was brought up in the hotel as a boy, as he was telling me.
My father was the first. He arrived here in 1950, in October 1950. I'm now supposed to be retired, but no innkeeper can ever be retired. They have to be taken out in a box, horizontally, because that's the game we're in. We're in the game of hospitality, and it's a wonderful trade to be in, and I'm very proud to be in it. Yes, it was a hotel. In fact, it's been a hotel for some hundreds of years, and it always was the lodging house way back in the 12th century for the master of the ruler of the area and the castle, because the Castle Hotel sits between the inner and outer moats of Taunton, and the castle keep is just outside these windows here. Yeah. My father arrived, just a few years after the war in 1950. And yes, the hotel was a complete wreck. There were no lampshades around the lights. The upholstery was literally falling to bits. There were no carpets on the floor. The then housekeeping department rarely changed the sheets, but gave them a quick iron and put them back on the beds. My father spent his first night at the castle with the night porter cleaning the place. Yes, it was in a dreadful state. I'm 78 years old, and I like to refer myself to as an innkeeper because we are in that business of hospitality, and in this hotel it's very personal, and deliberately so. We like to look after people and show them a good time. That's what it's about. That's what hospitality is about. Good food and comfortable night's sleep and all the rest of it. I was what? 9?
9, yeah.
And my father and my younger brother, who was just a couple of years younger, had us dressed up as page boys for the reopening of the Castle Hotel in those days. He wanted a grand party I had to read a strip that said, oh yeas, herewith, we reopened the Castle Hotel, and there was a model of the castle that he constructed, and away we went.
So your father's heart was definitely in it if he
Oh, yes.
managed and then purchased.
Yeah, but he again, his father was a great hotelier, an international hotelier. He ran the Savoy Hotel in London for many years.
Wow. Does that mean your father grew into it and obviously almost autopilot knew what he was doing?
Well, I think it's certainly, I think, something that is in the blood. I'm something like sixth generation hotel keeper in my family.
Absolutely in the blood then.
Yeah, we now have an eighth generation hotelier in my son Nick, who now runs this place.
And very briefly, just going off course and just for a moment, have you ever done anything else, or have you always been involved?
No. I went to university, came out of university and went into the advertising industry in London, which I enjoyed very much. But in the end, I suddenly realised that it was actually like the advertising business as it is today, two-dimensional. It's television, videotape, newsprint, glossy magazines and so on. And I got rather fed up. I was at a sales conference presenting a new product. It was a hairspray for my clients, and I had to present the advertising. And then the sales director got up onto the stage. This is after I'd made my pitch and all the rest of it. And there was a set of curtains, and the curtains parted, and this was an enormous display of hairspray, of tinned gunk, really, and the loudspeakers came out with Beethoven's Ode to Joy, if you please. Beethoven, to introduce a can of hairspray. And he told us to lift our glasses of champagne and drink to the stuff. And I thought for a moment, this is really very stupid. What am I doing here? What am I doing? And soon after I resigned and came and joined the family firm, where, we're in the business of taking care of people. And when, with my wife Louise, we said, look, I'm giving up this advertising game. And my father was thrilled, but he assumed that we would live on the premises. And I had to explain to him that Louise and I did not want to live on the premises, that we would live away from, as far apart from the premises as we possibly could. But there we are, yes.
And so, no doubt, it was pretty rough when he walked in with no carpet and all the things you described. But with his pedigree and his knowledge, very soon he'd done the refurbishment, the relaunch, and there was a clientele coming in that would enjoy the quality that he was offering. Is that a shorthand way of putting it?
Well, yes, except for one thing. This is the very interesting thing about that generation. They didn't really care about good food. My father had the most magnificent wine list. It ran to dozens of pages. There were hundreds and hundreds of wines and some really great wines. All the big wines from the Premier Cru, wines from Bordeaux and everywhere. But the food was rubbish. It was old-fashioned English food,
That was pretty general across the board.
That was pretty general across the board. But then, by the time I came along, there'd been this extraordinary revolution with Britain at last growing up and demanding decent food when they go out to restaurants and eat. And I made that a particular mission here, and as a consequence, we soon started winning Michelin stars and all the rest of it. I really did follow my father's cue in terms of every evening saying hello to the guests in the dining room, if not at lunchtime, quite normal. So in terms of management, the proprietors, the family were very visible.
Your mother as well?
Yes, and my wife following on. My wife would does the flowers or did the flowers every day and so on, and look after people having their morning coffees and so on, chatting to them all.
Yes.
My main focus when I joined the family firm was marketing, in order to, particularly in winter, the glum months of January and February, and I started doing events and weekends and so on. We'd have big wine weekends with fantastic wines and fill the hotel that way. Music weekends, world-class music weekends, with a musical director who brought down some of the world-class string quartets, piano trios, chamber music, and that helped to fill rooms in winter. So I was very much involved in that, and I also wanted to tap the American market, and I went swanning around America.
Successfully?
Yes, very successfully, most successfully actually with colleagues. I had two great friends. We decided to brand ourselves as the three British gentlemen. We flew to the States with the help of British Airways on Concorde on one occasion. It was just amazing, with bowler hats, furled umbrellas, ties and shirts made in Jermyn Street in London, looking the business. And it was the most extraordinary experience. I mean, in one case, we were being treated like bloody rock stars. I mean, ridiculous. We got mobbed in Atlanta, Georgia, by all these women who met us off the plane. I couldn't believe it. It was embarrassing, actually. And when we got to how they got into our bedrooms, I don't know, but we got into our bedrooms and there were gifts from them, T-shirts with "We love you all" and stuff like that, you know. I mean, it was the most extraordinary experience. They were mainly travel agents, young travel agents,
yeah.
and they sent us business.
Yeah, and they really did send you. There were Americans
had
roaming through the streets of Taunton.
At one point, 30% of our occupancy was American occupancy.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Because as a journalist for 50 years, you know, one thing I've learned is that everything needs or has a reason for being. So that an establishment like this in the county town, for centuries, would have had a mercantile tradespeople would be coming to do business in the town and so on and so forth. But that changes, doesn't it, over time? I mean, people do business on Zoom nowadays, you know, whatever. So you will have seen the change in the demographic and the reason for being. Is that a true thing to say?
Absolutely true. I mean, I no longer go to the States. None of us go to the States. The American market the whole market has changed now. Taunton is not a destination in the way that London or Bath is. We're not a seaside resort. We're here in Taunton. So the market has changed a lot, yes. We get people passing through a lot. People coming from the Midlands and the North or from East Anglia, London, on their way to Devon and Cornwall, will break their journey here, quite often on the way down, on the way back. And one of the missions I have had in mind is to try and make Taunton a destination in itself. And it has many, many great qualities. Cricket as well. I mean, the cricketing business, people coming to watch the cricket here in the county ground, that's very important. We have a very fine, and I would call it world class. The Museum of Somerset is a beautiful, a wonderful display of artefacts that are based in Taunton, but it's been brilliantly put together. It is world class in itself. We have some beautiful parish churches.
Well, talking about those, I'm going to jump in here because you mentioned the cricket and we weren't recording when we talked about that. Your friend, one Henry Blofeld, who I met here in this hotel and interviewed him.
He's a very good friend. Yeah.
He was a great PR on your behalf because he used to sit there commentating on county matches for Test Match Special. And if ever he covered a Taunton game, he would do one of those wonderful Blofeld descriptions of the scene he could see around him. And he would paint always a gorgeous picture of this county town with its Quantock Hill backdrop and its 5 church spires or whatever it was. And listening to Henry, anyone would want to come here. And so he was
not just Henry. They all. I mean, it was Christopher Martin Jenkins, used to mention it in many of his articles and that sort of thing. So it was dear blowers, yes, but others did the same.
And they would all stay here. Now, my readers will love to hear this. They from John Arlott, you remember, right up through, absolutely. They would all, if they're doing TMS there, they would book the castle.
Yes.
And,
absolutely.
And you would go down and have a bit of a drink and a bit of a laugh.
I certainly had to look after John Arlott. The others were, John Arlott was one hell of a character, and used to enjoy his glass of claret or 2 or 5 very much, and occasionally I used to need to sort of help escort him to bed.
I bet. And when you talked to those chaps downstairs, would you talk cricket, or would the conversation go way beyond?
Mainly wine. mainly wine, because they'd love my father's wine list. But you mentioned blowers and him talking about the Quantocks. But this is another great asset that Taunton has. Taunton has the most wonderful hinterland. It's not just the Quantocks, it's Exmoor as well, and it's the Brendan Hills, and it's the Blackdown Hills.
Yes, right.
We are surrounded by...
And the Somerset Levels.
And the Somerset... yes, mustn't forget the Somerset
Which are
Levels.
Getting more and more sort of popular for people to go and see.
They are, for bird watching and all sorts of things. But this is a wonderful asset that Taunton has. It's often forgotten. You can stay here for a few days and you can explore the area. You can go walking, you can go horse riding, whatever you want, and it's just stunning. So we are right at the centre. This is when I pitch with all these trips around the United States. I'd say all roads lead to Taunton. Come to Britain, but all roads lead to Taunton once you've left London.
Let's run through a few up-to-date vital statistics.
Okay.
How many staff do you employ nowadays?
It's about 70.
That's a big wage bill, but
there's nothing glitzy about this place.
No.
This place is honest. You're going to get a comfortable bed and a comfortable, cheerful room. In the end, it's about the staff. It's not about the painting on the wall. It's not about the glitter, glitz and glamour. It's about giving people a happy time.
Because part of happiness is... blooming great big part of happiness is good food.
Absolutely.
And so you've brought that along, and you have had all a manner of awards.
Gary wasn't the first to win us. He was the second chef we had here to win us a Michelin-starred. The first was a lovely man called Chris Oakes, followed by Gary Rhodes.
Yeah.
But yes, as I told you, my father had this magnificent wine list, and I just wanted to match that wine list with a decent restaurant. I made a few mistakes to begin with, but in the end I got there with Chris Oakes, who was then followed by Gary Rhodes, followed by Phil Vickery, followed by Richard Guest.
So it's obviously that's a big part of any hotel offering.
Yeah.
Is
It's slightly different now because again we live in a different age, and our focus is much more casual dining. People don't want to dress up, they want less formality, they just want a good time with, we now serve great burgers and wonderful fish cakes and brilliant fish and chips and stuff like that down there.
You've had some pretty big VIPs here over the years.
Yes, and a lot of them performing here in some way. I mean, being part of an event. I had all these. I used to attract personalities here. Wouldn't pay them any money. But say, "No, we'll give you a good time. We'll look after you. We'll look after you." Several of those. I mean, all sorts of people. Sir Bernard Ingham. Do you remember Margaret Thatcher's press secretary?
A bit of a character.
A hell of a character. He came here and entertained us. Michael Portillo has been here and entertained us. All sorts. I mean, it's Margaret. I go back to Margaret Thatcher, but her right arm, Lord Armstrong, Sir Robert Armstrong. He lived. Well, he was Lord Armstrong of Ilminster. He lived nearby, but I mean, he used to come to our music weekends. I once had him for a dinner. A lunch. It was a lunch this time. He spoke after lunch, and he was absolutely marvellous. And he said, at cabinet meetings, he told me, it's wonderful story. At cabinet meetings, Robert Armstrong, would take the minutes of the meeting. And they said, I never ever wrote down what they actually said. Nor did I note what they thought they said. But I always wrote down what should have been said if they'd thought about it.
Yeah, I think journalists do that occasionally.
That was Robert Armstrong. So yes, Keith Floyd, when he was alive.
Wiveliscombe boy?
Yeah, that's the boy. That's him. Keith Floyd. I mean, he came for one of my events, which was a true embarrassment because by the time he got up to speak, he was roaring drunk, and he started making a speech that would have made a rugby 15's faces go what? I mean, he was so disgusting. I wanted to dig a deep hole and pile into it because, I thought, this is the best way to lose my clients. But he did. He was extraordinary.
Yeah, a bit of a loose cannon, old Keith, and I bet he loved the look of your wine list.
He certainly did.
What about tricky customers? I mean, you run this high-end establishment. You must... I mean, let's face it, there are a lot of Mrs. Bouquets in the world.
We've got plenty. I could mention many, but I won't.
No, I don't want names. But how do you deal with an overly... It must get people who are overly demanding. What's the trick there?
Well, there's no trick. I won't put up with it, actually. Yes, I am, I hope, mine host and so on. But if someone does get out of hand, especially if they're rude to the staff, that for me is a red line. And on one occasion, I have actually asked a customer to get the hell out. But it's rare, I have to say.
Yeah, okay. But you can sort of, the ones who are milder, but still a little bit over, I want this, I want that.
You have to turn them. I mean, quite often, oddly enough, at times like Christmas, when you get single customers just coming for Christmas, and they arrive in a really bad mood, or clearly they have problems, serious issues in their lives.
Yeah.
And you have to turn them around. You have to absolutely enwrap them, embrace them with love and kindness and goodwill.
Yeah.
And happiness. And it's turning them around that gives me, and the staff, great pleasure.
Fantastic. When I was a child growing up in Somerset, we'd regularly visit Taunton, and I'd always feel a sense of awe when it came to the grand Castle Hotel. We never had the funds to enter its hallowed halls, but later, as a journalist, I'd go there occasionally to interview celebrities, like the aforementioned Gary Rhodes, who used to be the chef at the hotel, and the aforementioned Blowers. By the way, I'm trying to find the interview I did with Henry Blofeld, and as soon as I do, I will put it up in this podcast series. So that was me as a journalist, a radio journalist working for BBC local radio, and I used to go to the Castle Hotel to cover some august event or other. Now here I was chatting with the owner as if we were two old friends, despite the fact that, for some reason, we'd never met before. And what I came away with was that wonderful feeling of permanence. It is worth celebrating if you can find it. And the Chapman's 75th anniversary at the Castle Hotel in Taunton helps us do just that.